Taming the Taniwha, written by Tim Tipene and illustrated by Henry Campbell. Kia ora. Tama liked school. He had a nice teacher and good friends. He liked painting best. He liked to paint lots of big bright pictures for his mum. One thing Tama didn't like was James. James was mean. He always ruined Tama's games and ripped up his paintings. He would even take Tama's lunch. One day, Tama went home and told his mum and Auntie Flo all about James. Mum said James was a right little taniwha. Aye, and he needs taming, said Auntie Flo. Tama thought this was a brilliant idea, but he didn't know how to tame a taniwha. He asked Auntie Flo what to do. Walk away and tell the teacher, she said. Tama didn't like being a telltale, but maybe telling tales would work. On Monday, James stole Tama's basketball. Tama tried to tell the teacher, but she was too busy. That night, Tama went and asked Uncle John how to tame a taniwha. Give him some of his own medicine, Uncle John said. Whatever that taniwha does to you, you do it back harder. James was tough, all right, but maybe fighting back would work. On Tuesday, James threw a water bomb at Tama. So Tama sprayed James with the hose. James chased after Tama. He pushed Tama right in the middle of a huge, muddy puddle. That night, Tama asked his grandfather how to tame a taniwha. You have to get to know the taniwha, said Papa. He told Tama to sit with James at lunchtime. Tama thought that was a crazy idea. But maybe it would work. On Wednesday, Tama sat beside James. James didn't have any lunch, but he asked for Tama's apple. Tama liked apples. No, he said, but James snatched the apple and ran off, laughing as he went. That afternoon, Papa asked Tama how it had gone with James. Tama told him all about it. When Tama finished, Papa said, well, that was the first part, Tama. There is a lot more to taming a taniwha than that. He told Tama to take some lunch for James. Tama thought that was a crazy idea. But maybe it would work. On Thursday, Tama brought James some lunch. James stared at Tama, but he took the food and even mumbled a thank you. After lunch, Tama and James shot hoops together with Tama's basketball. That afternoon, Tama raced home to Papa. Papa, Papa, he cried, it worked. James was nice to me for the whole day. Papa smiled and gave Tama a big hug. But then he said, they still hadn't finished. Tama groaned. Papa told him to invite James home with him the next day. Tama thought that was a crazy idea. But maybe it would work. On Friday, Tama asked James if he'd like to come over. Yeah, cool, said James. Tama was so surprised, he almost fell off his chair. That day, Tama and James played all afternoon at Tama's house. They played in the tree house and they played on the driveway. They played on the bikes and they played on the skateboard. Auntie Flo gave them a huge bit of chocolate cake each. And James even helped with the cleaning up. When James went home, Papa put a pounamu around Tama's neck. This is for taming your first taniwha, Tama, he said. Tama smiled. Maybe your crazy ideas worked after all, Papa, he said. And that's Taming the Taniwha. Kia ora.